Good morning. Today we begin our first lesson. It comes from section 1.1. We're going to look at bound and unbound intervals. This is a kind of a shorthand way to tell you what the solutions of a particular inequality are. For instance, if I said the inequality, x is greater than 5, how many numbers could fit in that particular inequality? Anything bigger than 5 up to infinity, right? Okay, so nobody wants to write down 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on and so on and so on to get all those numbers. So this is a shorter way to do it, okay? I want to remind you a few things first. Remember when you learned inequalities and you would graph them on a number line? Remember, an open circle indicates either a less than or a greater than sign. A closed-in circle, I'll try to close that in as best I can, indicates less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. Remember, the closed-in includes the number. So if I say x greater than or equal to 5, that's everything bigger than 5, including 5. Whereas these two mean not to include the number that's in that inequality. Okay, so let's begin. So right now we're going to think of A and B being just two real numbers, okay? Such that A is less than B. That means when you write the interval, your A will always be on your left and your B will be on your right. So the smaller number is written first when you're looking for a number in between two numbers, okay? That's why we call it bounded. In other words, there's a limit to X. It can go so far this way and then so far this way. All right, so then A and B are going to be the endpoints of four, in this case, 4 different bounded intervals. And we'll talk about why they're bounded, okay? It says on the number line, we use a bracket or a closed circle indicates the endpoints are included. Remember I told you how 5 would be included and x is less than or equal to 5? So in other words, the bracket is like this. So if we have something that has a less than or greater than here, and a less than or greater than on this in the interval, 2 of them, we're going to use brackets, okay? Now, if the endpoint is not included, in other words, it would be an open one, we're going to use parentheses. It's going to look like a regular ordered pair. Like if you were graphing on the number line and we want to put a coordinate grid and went to 2, 3 and put a dot, that's what that interval is going to look like, okay? So we're going to use parentheses if it's an open interval. And sometimes we'll use one of each depending on what our inequality says. So let's take a look at this. So first, let's go to the first one. We have A less than or equal to X, which is less than or equal to B. All right? So let's think about this. So my X has got to be, if I read this backwards, X has got to be, first of all, less than B, but bigger than A. So the way we write that, we start off like this. Since this is a less than or equal to, we're going to have a bracket. Okay? And so we know the interval starts with A, and you just write A, and that's A. Let me close it up a little bit. Let's try that one more time, guys. Let's have a bracket and an A. Okay? And then we have a comma, and then a B. And because this also is less than or equal to, we use a bracket. That's on both ends. Bound. The X is in between two numbers. It's less than one number and it's greater than another number, okay? Okay. Now let's take, what does that graph look like? It's very simple, it's a number line. So let's draw a number line. Remember X is between what? A and B, right? So I'm gonna put A here because the first number listed is the smaller number when you're in an interval. So if your interval was between -2 and 4, you wouldn't put the 4 first and then the -2, because think about a number line. The negative numbers go this way, positive numbers go that way. So we do that same concept when we're doing this. And my B would go here. Well, let's take a look. That is a less than or equal to. So that means on here I'm going to have a closed-in circle here. Okay? And here also is a less than or equal to. So that means this is going to be closed-in circle. So let's think about X. It tells me X has got to be less than or equal to B. So that's going to be shading in this direction. Okay? Because everything this way is less than B. This says that x is gonna be greater than a. That means everything in this direction. So this is what your graph would look like. You graph in between. And it would include those two endpoints because they're closed in, okay? You're gonna see a pattern in just a little bit. Let's look at our next one. We have a less than or equal to, a less than or equal to x, less than or equal to b. Correct, I read that right. So let's do our interval. Now remember, I now have just a less than or sign with no equal to underneath it. Like here, it's open, and what does it tell me when I have an open interval right here? When the endpoint right here includes, I'm gonna use what? Parentheses, right? So I have parentheses, my first left side of my interval is a, comma, and the other side is b, and I close it. Well, I bet you can already guess what that number line is gonna look like. You're right. I'm gonna have it here, like this. This end is A. This end is B. And X is gonna be somewhere in there. Now, let's think about it. Are A and B included in the interval? No. Why? Because I don't have an or equal to. So, I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna put an open circle here and an open circle here. And then it's everything in between, because X is gonna be less than B, but greater than A. So it's everything in the middle, all right? Next, let's take a look. What if we have one of each? Notice here we have A less than or equal to X, but it's only less than B, okay? So this is a combination. So let's take a look. So this is the closed end. So I'm gonna use a bracket on this side, and then I'm gonna have my A and my comma, and then on the other side is B. And because B is a relationship to the less than sign, which is no equal to, we use a parentheses. Now, when you do it, do you have to use different colors? No, but I wanted to show you that so you would see what that looks like. Now, I bet you can probably already guess what it's gonna look like in a graphing situation. So, let's draw a number line. I have A still here, notice this doesn't change, B here, okay? Now, in A, I've got a closed in bounded bracket right there. So when I do that one, I'm gonna have a closed in circle on A. Over here I have parentheses though, so that's gonna be what? Right, an open circle on B. Let me do that in a different color so it won't look like the line. An open circle on B, and it's gonna be what? Everything in between, okay? So this one is a combination where you have a bracket because we have a closed circle in, and a parentheses because we have an open circle in. So this one is just like the one before it, the fourth example is, except they switched the signs different places. So again, this one is nice and easy. This A now is with the less than, so the parentheses is gonna be on this end, and I put my A, and on this end I have my B, but it's gonna be what? You're right, a bracket because I have the less than or equal to here, so I have to include B. So when you see this notation, you must memorize and know and understand when to use the parentheses and when to use the bracket, okay? So my number line right here is gonna look like what? Here we go. Okay, so if I put A here again and B right here, okay? On A's end is open. Forgive the bells, Lord, this morning. It happens. And B is gonna be closed, so B is gonna be like this. Okay? And of course, it's everything in between, all right? Usually when you see these, you're gonna be seeing the less than sign or the less than or equal to sign. Sometimes you'll see an interval written, an inequality written with a greater than or equal to, but more than likely it will be these two, one of these two symbols, okay? So what would that look like if those had numbers in them? If I gave you -4 is less than or equal to X is less than or equal to 7, what would that look like in an interval? So here I've got less than or equal to, so that's gonna be closed, -4, comma, 7, parentheses. See how that goes? Okay, now I'm gonna come right back in a few minutes and we're gonna do the second part of this lesson.